We're going to talk about scale type coaching, and we've having how do I say this? We have some very interesting people in the audience. We have a scale tech coach, another scale tech coach that's joined the audience. His name is Sylvester Babuz. So please wave, Sylvester, say hi or something. So we had the pleasure of doing some of this work that I'm about to talk about at a client that I can't, whose name I won't say.
So at this point, we will just name that company. We will name it ABC Corporation.
ABC,
and it
right.
wasn't the TV corporation.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh no! Now my NDA is broken with ABC. I'm in soup now. All right. What else should I say about myself? I've done scale. I've been doing technical coaching for a long time since 2006. I was a professional coach, and before that, I was a team lead with XP Motivation. So I kind of just ended up coaching within my team, or new projects that we turn into an XP project. But then later I was paid to actually help clients who wanted that done in their companies since 2006. A long time ago, 1999, I was at HP. I can say that. I worked there. And we had Kent Beck for our coach, and he taught us XP, which was really cool. We learned to do ship or no ship decisions with a unit test suite and a system test suite in 4 hours. So we got to ship on Fridays, and they were low pressure Fridays. Oh, most of the time. There's a couple times we had to rerun our tests when something came up bad, and we would run them and fix it and run them again. But most of the time it was we went home on schedule. Cool. I think that's probably enough about me. Oh, well, you will see as I flip through the slides that I've lived in other places than North America. I've spent a lot of time in China, 7 years, and then about 8 months in India, and then I came back to the States. So how about I start flipping slides and see what happens? So the subtitle here, creating self-sustaining transformation, I think is an important component, because I don't think technical coaching typically does that. But what I'm about to talk about a way where it can. Oh, and by the way, if you have questions, you can drop them in chat. You can come off mute, whatever works for you. I've got the chat up over there. I may ignore you in chat for a while if I'm feeling like I'm going to get distracted. So, but this first slide actually is demanding people interact. So there's quiet people like David Kuntz, who's on the call. He may have an opinion about this, but why does anyone need a technical coach? Well, why spend the money?
Do you want out loud verbal remarks? Do you want smart remarks or serious remarks?
Either way, it's anybody can say anything. Yes, please jump in. Tell me, talk to me. Why does anyone need a technical coach?
Because you have a mortgage. You have a mortgage to pay.
Wait a minute, Joel. Why do you need a technical coach for you and your team?
Why do I need a technical coach for me and my team? A competency mismatch. Technology changes so fast that I don't want to spend the early adopter tax every time we learn something new. That time where we're Googling things and we're not very good at the things that we're Googling. We don't even know what to Google yet.
Okay, that's fair enough. I like that. Anyone else? I mean, if we can't even decide that you want a technical coach, this is going to be probably the first problem we need to work out. David,
well,
I don't think David liked your early adopter tax comment, but
I think we can debate that over pints later on.
And if I'm trying to sell myself, I tell people that musicians do arpeggios and scales to practice, and that sports teams do something, I don't know, before they do a game. So it's a way to practice, and they all have coaches. I'm actually in the middle of not being able to say that, because as Joel once said, would you rather have a scrum master or free health insurance? So it's an interesting trade-off. Like it's got to be worth it. And like, what's the business case? I'd love to hear more.
All right. Well,
cool. By the way, I didn't say that in a negative tone. It's just in an economic tone, Lance. Like we're learning about your methodology and your progress, and it was coming.
There's always opportunity costs for where you put your dollars.
Yep.
Sure. Cool. Well, I think unless somebody wants to add something, we've heard some pretty good comments. I'll add a little bit more detail. Basically what Joel said is my team can learn something that will make us better and finish our product faster or make it more stable or make it more secure, all those things. So if we work together as a team for a long time and we work really well and efficiently, no matter how high level we are, there's going to be a point where the group is going to have a certain set of skills, but something else in the world has moved on and we want to absorb more. So yeah, we want to absorb more good stuff. Now, Joel, you were talking about early adopter tax, things like that. What about getting a trainer? Why not just do that?
I don't know, Lance. Should I throw that one back to you? Or should I give you an answer?
We can play badminton for a while.
Well, having been a technical trainer for 20 years, I chose not to put that in my comment, but yeah,
Okay.
there's always an option for where you put your money.
Yeah, yeah. And there's some nice value to that. Like it's a fairly, like when you're talking about scale, right? So this talk's going to go with like, we have lots of people to change, not just this one or two teams. You can really cover a lot of people with training. And it gets a lot of people in a company talking differently, meaning absorbing some new information and thinking differently. And the classroom gets them focused on learning the skill rather than on feature delivery. So it gives them a little bit of a safe space to get some things done. But what the problem is, applying what is taught to their product is frequently difficult. They have trouble getting the environment set up where they can be successful. They haven't really formed a lot of habits. So training might be a few days, it might be a week. I don't know, maybe it could even be 2 weeks. But they haven't applied it to their project where they're giving. Once they leave the classroom, they're surrounded by their usual environment where somebody hands them a user story, says, please go do this. The team agrees, but then they realize, oh yeah, we forgot to estimate it in a way that accommodates our new way of thinking. So these habits aren't in there yet, even though because they were in the classroom. They didn't bring the habits out of the classroom. So that's one of the big problems with training. And then if the training's kind of transactional, when Joel brings in a trainer to teach the team the latest like scalable NoSQL database, and then the trainer leaves, if they get stuck again and they turn around and look for the trainer's gone. He's already like out doing some training somewhere else. So there's some problems there. Anyone have any else to add to that? I'm reading David Kuhn says, training is the org dev answer for everything. Yeah, right.
Organizational development.
We're looking for some training on why to bring a trainer.
All right, so here's the hardest part of the deck for you today. Does anyone want to go ahead and read this? This is a Chinese proverb, but this was going to help set up the next slide. So 老师开门，你必须 So thankfully, I've got a translation here. This one might be easier. Teachers open the door, but you must enter by yourself. So that's kind of an important thing because teacher or coach opens the door. If people don't go through the door, we don't get into the next room. So with that in mind, if money is no object, how would you like to be coached? Michael Wolf threw that out there pretty fast. Michael, did you actually translate that?
I just put it in the chat for future reference.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't know when that showed up. I was going to be quite impressed. So money is no object.
Is this rhetorical? And feel free, I know some of us are putting kids.
No, I'm asking. These are all like real questions that I'm asking.
You can probably call out a couple people on here that you know in real life. They'll play. How
about people I don't know, like Paul? Paul Moore, I haven't met you, so let me be mean to you.
Well, let's make sure we abide by our privacy policy. Wink, wink, Lance. So people that you know in real life.
People I know in real life.
Like Scott Hammer.
Well, that would be. I don't know if I know. Do I know
Scott? He teaches here a lot.
All right, folks, you can speak up if you want. If money's no object, how would you like to be coached? Is there an ideal way that we haven't tried yet that nobody's bothered to?
Between long vacations. I don't know about you, but corporate sponsored long vacations, come back, get coached for like a day. What do you think, Michael? And then go back on a vacation again for a couple weeks?
So another idea, maybe, well, there's the Linux cruises, things like that. Why not have the vacation and the training at once? That might be a way. Okay, so here's yet another idea. Shoot, I'm not ready for that. Well, another idea is maybe if we just got more technical coaches, right? Would that help? Oh, David wants to do the Linux cruise. So we're gonna talk about that in a second here. But Socrates says, "I can't teach anybody anything. I can only make them think." And then the next day, Socrates was fired from his teaching job. But anyways, we'll leave that one for later. So here we are with this idea that what if we just got more technical coaches? I mean, here we have a team, and we've got a technical coach for each team member. How helpful would that be? I got a thumbs up. All right, cool. Because you can't have, if you just have one technical coach for one team, why not have one for each team member? Would that help?
Wasn't that a model by a big consulting company at one point?
I have no idea. I've never seen it in use. It could be cool though. Maybe we should do this semester.
I think that's called a mentor in MBA circles.
Yeah, well, right. Everybody can, yeah. If the mentor knows stuff, that's a good model. But if the mentor is enough steps ahead. All right, well, so I've never seen this model used in real life. So I'm going to show you more the traditional model is, well, the traditional model is you have a technical coach for a whole team. Is that controversial to anyone? All right. And the model that we're going to be talking about more today is, oh my God, where'd the technical coach go? Oh, what we have is somebody who's kind of highlighted over here, a team member coach the team. All right. So if we can get a team member to coach the team, then that person had to have entered the door that was held open by the teacher, and that will be shown immediately. In like lean terms, or in theory of constraint terms, we've shifted the bottleneck further to the left to say this will not go anywhere if that person doesn't get bought in and help transform the team. So we will at least get one advocate on the team who's capable, who understands what it is we're teaching, who applies themselves to learn what we're teaching, what we want the team to learn, and then help teach the team. All right. So we're not going to talk about, unfortunately, we're not going to talk about the model on the far left with all the extra coaches. But if somebody wants to take that up, we can talk after the after the call. So let's zoom in on the traditional model a little bit more. So coach per team, generally this works like this, at least this has been my experience. 2 weeks to 2 months per team. And it's a full-time, like you usually coach one team. Not always, sometimes if you're there for more than 2 weeks, maybe you coach a couple teams, but and there's reasons why that can work up to a point. But they're not necessarily good reasons. So the problems with traditional coaching is unless the way was paved by management to say, hey, you guys should listen to the coach and actually slow down a little bit and apply what he's teaching, the coach is often in conflict with management because the team's going to be slowed down a little bit. There's also the situation where you have the test manager who's putting together the manual test reports, and he's feeling like his cheese is going to be moved. His job's in risk because we're talking about test automation, or we're talking about the QA team working closely with the development team, and now maybe that manager's vision, the QA manager's vision, isn't to allow that, right? So some of these, there will be some conflict with the traditional model. The team leads. This next bullet, the third bullet, is kind of one that I've seen hit or miss, is that team leads can also be a little bit aloof right? They can show up to the training as an explorer, kind of watch the team go through things. And then when the coach leaves, the team lead can say, "Hey, I don't know if we really need to do that TDD thing or this or that." So you don't really know, you don't always have the team lead bought in. In fact, I'll tell you something. If the team lead is already bought in, chances are they didn't need a technical coach because the team lead has already got the team doing it. So frequently you're in a situation where the team leads aren't bought in, or they're at least maybe, they might be open to exploring. They're not necessarily against it. So again, I'm pointing out another type of bottleneck that gets left behind if it isn't managed at the start. So sustaining practices after the coach leaves is hit or miss. If the coach did all the work of training the team in whatever the heck it is the coach is there to train, when about, I don't know, 6 months later, some new team members show up, what are they going to do? Are they going to hope maybe through osmosis the team member just does what the rest of the team's doing? Or is anybody going to pull that person aside and take them through some training katas that like the technical coach did? I don't know, probably not, but maybe it could happen, but we don't know, right? Because this model doesn't put to the front that somebody on the team is going to learn how to teach the team.
It reminds me that even Llewellyn Falco, who is like God among gods, he counts his success by what the team's doing 6 months later when he comes back.
I would love to hear his metrics on this. I actually went back and collected some statistics or some metrics on that because I was curious too. and if, of course, if they actually answer your emails, that's a good sign. And then if they're actually open to telling their success criteria, which will be varied, has been my experience. That's also either way good.
Lance, just ask a question. How many times have you done this model and at what scale? Because you said scale.
Yeah. So not this model at scale, the traditional model at scale.
Whatever you want to answer.
The traditional model at scale can't be done at scale because there aren't enough technical coaches to scale it. You can't get, I've never seen, I maybe have seen 10 technical coaches in one company at once, but that was maybe only one time. And that still isn't enough for that size of company. So this model that we're talking about can't scale. That's the biggest problem as well, on top of these other problems. So the next slide, we'll talk about something that's more scalable. All right, so like this young girl who's learning to fold, we want to set up an environment where a person or people, but at least one person, can learn something and teach the rest of the team. So what does that look like? So here we have that scaled tech coach. We're going to call him a scale tech coach. We're differentiating so that we know he's not coaching one team now, but he's coaching. Oh, look, we have some familiar faces down here. These what we call the team tech coaches. So we have the fellow on the other slide where we highlighted him, said, hey, that's a volunteer on the team who's going to be the team tech coach. And we have, oh, isn't that Yusuf? Oh, and look, there's Doug, and I don't know who this guy is. I forgot his name.
Yes, Harry.
And that's a few other folks. All right. So we get a team member from each of the teams to volunteer. Key point: volunteer, has interest in learning, has interest in teaching to their team some of these skills. And this is what we call the scale tech coaching. I call it a catalyst model because what you do is you go to each team that's going through the transformation and you say, who can be the catalyst or the team tech coach to create some new capability in the team. And then like that previous slide with the girl, where you need to set up an environment for that team catalyst to be successful. And that environment, that success is set up by the organization as well as the scale tech coach. The scale tech coach has the know-how on what it is the teams are to learn, such as TDD, et cetera, lots of things. And the organization has the ability and authority to say, okay, Joel, you get to be team tech coach. Yes, you volunteered. We won't demand that you go to like all of the meetings that we've been demanding you to go. We're going to give you breaks. You have time to learn how to be a coach. And then what the skilled technical coach does is teach those team tech coaches how to be a coach, how to be a technical coach, how to be a team facilitator, because we're not trying to create we want those people to show up as coaches. I know we're asking a lot of some of these folks here whether they can show up as a coach, but we'll do our best. So we teach them how to coach, and then we take them through how to make a coaching plan, and that coaching plan will have technical stuff like DevSecOps, setting up a continuous integration environment, all of those things. We'll work out a plan with them that encompasses how to get their team to get those capabilities. And then we work with these team tech coaches on, maybe Yusuf doesn't know how to set up a CI environment. So one of the things that I would do as a scale tech coach is to work with this cohort and help them learn how to set up a CI environment for those that don't know how. So we'll have some trainings about that. Some of the CI environments are kind of funny because maybe we'll just pair together on setting it up for that team. So that might be more of a learning by doing rather than a, hey, let's go look at some slides. But some other things are going to be some knowledge, like clean code. And then some other things are going to be, we're going to do some katas and dojos together, just like you would with a team, but now with this cohort, the team tech coaches. Any questions? And Sylvester, did I explain that? Did I say something confusing? What could I? Okay, cool. Just checking in. He knows this model pretty well, so I'm just, he's my QA check today.
Lance, is this a theory model or is this proven?
Oh, this is proven, baby. We've done this at 3 different big companies, and it does change and refine as we go. So how we did the very first time was more minimalistic, and then how we did it the second time, it's been refined.
How many devs, ballpark?
So,
or if we get there, we might be.
This is the universe. So in the universe, where's scale tech coaching been used? By the way, that's a 3-dimensional model of the universe. That apparently it's not the shape that I expect it to be either. But so. The first time I was involved with trying to scale tech coaching was at a French bank that spanned France, India, and Hong Kong. And that was where we're just starting to scratch the surface, because the COO said, I like Lance, but we need to do more than just team coach. We need to find a way to start building this capability in the company. And so we started doing finding team representatives. We didn't use the word team tech coach at the time, but team representatives to team leads, and train them into the things that we wanted their teams to do. Okay. And so in that case, you see about 70 developers were impacted. We got 70 developers via and 24 team tech coaches. So they had 2 per team approximately. All right. And then there's technologies, if you're interested in that, java.net. Then the large national bank headquartered in San Francisco. This is a situation where there was it was very black or white. We are hiring 1 technical coach. We have 1,000 to 2,000 people who need to learn this, and let's see how. And we're open to exploring and learning as we go. Meaning, they knew that this model didn't exist, and they were open to working together to get this model to work. And so that wasn't. That not large number was possible because, I mean, like if Sylvester, he sees that large number, he goes, what the hell? So that larger number is possible because we only taught him one thing, Sylvester. We only did TDD. We didn't, we have so many other things. So we only did TDD. So basically every 2 weeks we had a large cohort of say Java people, and we run them through the classes in Java, and then we have to do that a number of times, and then we would do a cohort of we did cohort by technology and people. So we ignored the mobile developers, for example. Yeah. So, and that also includes managers too, because at that company, if we didn't get the managers on board and as part of the change, they would become oppositional to the change and wouldn't be able to support it. So yeah, in this case, we had so my favorite part of the large national bank in San Francisco is that I never realized how team leads may not be very good at giving feedback on code reviews. And that was really a powerful part of a kata we did. We had teams do coding katas, and we had the team leads, I call them team tech coaches on this call, team tech coaches do the code reviews, and they would send me the code reviews and I would give them feedback on their code review before they sent it out to the team members so that they can learn how to, express things in a less and what's the word? I don't know. Maybe it'd be a little bit less antagonistic, a little bit more nice, I suppose. People just don't know how to criticize sometimes without being mean, I guess. Sorry,
so somebody. People and a communication skill, not a technical skill.
Yeah, right. And well, it's interesting because people need to think about big picture. It's like, oh, why did you expect this person to do it perfectly? Oh, so it's a developmental mindset. You're the team tech coach. A coach should be developing people. You shouldn't expect people to already be good, because otherwise you're more of like a hiring manager. I only hire good people. If you don't make my bar, I fire you, right? Or I don't hire you. But you want your coach to be development minded and say, like, oh, okay, I see what you tried to do here. Let me help you out. I think this will work better. Use adjust the soft skill language part. We also started doing conflict management techniques for how to de-escalate a conflict. And we also taught those team tech coaches how to do coding dojos, katas, pair programming, and how to pair program with your team members rather than have meetings with them or one-on-ones with them, but have a pair programming session with them to help them learn how to do something.
I just want to highlight that you reframed my question, and thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I said, is it a technical thing? Is probably, what were the words I used? Communication or something.
You said,
said it's a mindset. I love that.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, James.
Hey, Lance. Yeah, I just was pointing out that he said it was a communication skill rather than a technical skill, which I thought a odd distinction actually.
Yeah, and then as sorry, Michael just said, I also kind of reframed it again as I said, well, it's actually a point of view shift is from being critical, but to being more of a, how do I develop somebody? And then all the other things kind of fall into play at that point. Okay, so, and then
the
of course,
reason I like that is my own personal journey, because the way I asked it, it's like, well, something's broken, let's fix it. And you were saying something different. I like that.
Then also, like, Sylvester and I worked together at a large auto company headquartered in Detroit, and this is partly Sylvester and partly some things that I was doing before Sylvester. Anyways, we worked with 17 teams, and we produced 20 team tech coaches. Sometimes there's more team tech coaches in our teams because people, for some reason, change jobs sometimes, and so we have to train a new one. Yeah, or people get pregnant, or life happens, paternity leave, all those kinds of things. Okay. So this is the high level. This is how thousands of people can be changed in a year by few people. In the large bank case, it was one person. I had a supporting cast of other non-technical coaches helping me with coordination work and the management part of that, but I was the only technical coach there. And in the case of Detroit, we have more than one technical coach. We have more than one scaled technical coach. We have a few of them. So this is also important when you tell somebody something. Only through experience will they actually say, okay, yeah, it does kind of work that way. Some of the things we ask people to do are crazy, like write tests before you write the code. I mean, who's ever heard of that? Some more on capabilities. The capabilities were different for different companies and engagements. So it depends on what people wanted to do. But the primary, how do I say this? The focus point was always a team tech coach and teaching them how to be a coach, how to be collaborative, how to run. I mean, just think about this. Forget about tech coaching for a second. Wouldn't it be great if every team could operate in a collaborative way? Well, think of the efficiencies if they can facilitate collaborative meetings well. Just teaching them that will give them a boost. And so we covered all that in the coaching class. When my team tech coach Joel and I worked out a coaching plan, Joel didn't show. At least he tells me he didn't. Anyhow, he didn't go back to the team and say, "This is how we're doing it. We're going to do this step A, step B, step C, and then you over there, you're going to start working on the CI environment." It wasn't like that. Joel would go back and he would have a collaborative meeting where he would show them, "This is what we learned. This is what I learned with Lance. Da, 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 da. What do you guys think? What do you think the value for these things are?" And so he would work out with the team how to prioritize the priority of what they wanted to do and communicate with the team about, what are these items? What do they mean? Why do we need to do add some infosec tools into our pipeline, things like that.
How did that help the team?
The team got to get an introduction to what is Joel doing in those meetings with Lance, right? So some visibility. We've all been there, right? Where the manager says, "Hey, I've been talking to, we've been having these meetings that you don't know about for a long time, and now we've made this decision." So rather than make the decision, we always told Joel, go talk to the team and see what they think and see if they agree, adjust. They can adjust the plan, and then Joel would bring back the plan. So the team was involved, but it was at a the drawback to scaled technical coaching is it was done with a extra step. So Joel had to leave the meeting with me and go talk to the team and then work out a plan with them, collaborate with them, and then he would come back and talk about it. So you can see there's a little bit of an extra step. There's a little bit of an efficiency there, an inefficiency that happens because I'm not involved in all the meetings with Joel. Sometimes Joel will invite me along because, I don't know, there's a teammate in there Joel has conflict with, and he's a little bit shy about bringing up.
You said that we weren't going to talk
Perry
about that in
Mintz.
front of Scott, okay?
Okay. Sorry, Scott, but yeah. So sometimes Joel would bring me along into meetings where he felt like he wanted a hand, or maybe just that inefficiency seemed too great of a bridge. But you can see that there's a little bit more of there's a couple extra states that then aren't normally there if you're just doing traditional coaching. But if we're just doing traditional coaching, we can't scale. So we just
Lance,
kind of
there's
accept
a
that.
question from the group. It says the team has some ability to decide, so they can veto something fundamental, say TDD.
I think that's a great question, and I think if a team doesn't want to do TDD before you start training them on TDD, that's a good thing to learn, because then we can figure out, well, what are we going to do about that? How are we going to convince the team, or what can we show the team to help them understand that TDD is so valuable that they want to do TDD? So the team has some ability to decide. Generally, it was more prioritization, and occasionally we run into a case where a team doesn't want to do something, and then it becomes the job of the scale tech coach and the team tech coach to put their heads together and talk about, well, what evidence can we find that this will be valuable for the team to do? I'll be honest with you, David. The organization probably paid me to help them do something. And if I can't help them do that something, then they'll probably be rather upset and don't really want the team to decide. But the act of the team disagreeing creates the conversation so we can at least try to work that out. I'd rather have them actively disagree rather than passive aggressive. Okay, fine, I'll do the training. And then, when I go back to my keyboard, I don't actually do anything like that. So why does the team feel that way? Yeah, that's right, David. We're trying to learn through empathy. Why does the team want to or not want to do something? Because that's the problem to solve. And that's actually the problem I was talking about with the team lead, is that anytime I was coaching a team and I could tell by the look in the team lead's eyes that he really wasn't really bought into it, that was always felt like a problem. And a lot of times I would cross my fingers hoping he would change his mind before I was done.
So David says the upfront disagreement is valuable?
I think so. Yes, he says that.
Yeah.
And then there's another remark here is, if they disagree, they're at least engaged.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Jake says actively disagreeing is better than passively disregarding.
Yeah. I agree with all of that. So that's again why I see this as a shift left movement, where you move a person. So the person who is most likely to be responsible for the team's technical development and mentorship is the team lead. And putting that person in place as the team tech coach means we're actively working with that person to understand if they agree and if they can teach the team, because I'm a temporary resource, and after I'm gone, they will have to do this over again with other people. The opposite of agree is not disagree. It's apathy. Oh, that's interesting.
Lance, would you say you have people skills?
I don't know. I write emails. I would say yes. Why? What? Tell me more, Joel.
What you're saying is you have people skills. You work well with people, and you can help people work well with other people.
That's true. That's true. So if you're a technical coach, can't work with other people. I don't know. I don't know if there's technical coaches like that, but yeah, you need to be able to work with people for sure.
I want to pick up on a thread you said about forced. I just heard some podcast. It was actually talking about diversity and inclusion, and there's some studies that prove that forcing people to go to them actually gets negative results. There's statistically significant negative results for forcing people to certain trainings.
Interesting. Because, I think a lot of it, so my lived experience with that is it shows up as an email and then I have to just do it, right? And I just learned to accommodate it personally, but yeah, I might roll my eyes about it. And sometimes I'm like busy and I'm annoyed, right? So those aren't great environments to be learning something, right? I'm already annoyed. And I suppose that yeah. So if somebody came to me and told me, hey, Lance, you should go do this, because sometimes people say things and it's really embarrassing. You don't really want to be stuck in that situation sometimes. And I go, yeah, that's true. Then it becomes more of a sell rather than a tell. So, yeah. Let's see what else I got here. So one of the things as a technical coach, I actually, in all forms of coaching, whether I'm process or technical coaching, is sometimes I have this, I want to make it too perfect or too good. And I really ought to leave it unrefined and let the team do the work. Get them engaged, get them actively trying to learn something. Why should I build them an entire course on TDD in their technology when they already know the technology? If I teach them the concept, why can't I get them to build the course for their technology on their own after I kind of help them with the concept? So this will help them take ownership of what it is they learn. All right, so where did this scale tech coaching stuff come from? For me, it just came through responding to market demands. Other people who have done it through, I guess, market demands of different kind. If you read the Dick Couch's Chosen Soldier, it's about the operations of Special Forces operation, Office of Special Forces operation. I think I got that right. In the military, which is where one of the functions of the military is to do what's called unconventional warfare, where they want to support somebody and they don't want to do it by sending over the Army or the Navy or the Air Force, they send over a warrior soldier, somebody, a warrior teacher, somebody who is also a soldier, but is a teacher as well. And then they go over and work with those people to teach them the skills that they need to attain their goals. Another thing that happens, and this is just one example, this I'm familiar with because this is my wife's business, is she's part of Premier Financial Alliance. And what they do is they take regular Joe people in the world who are looking for opportunities to run a business, and they, through mentoring and through a program at virtually no cost, give you materials and have you come into a meeting every so often to encourage you and coach you to be able to sell financial products. So this is not something that was just, invented. It's not unique is what I'm trying to say. And there's lots of organizations doing that. And those other organizations, the military and PFA, are doing it because the bottleneck's in different places. And the PFA example, it takes a lot of nurturing to sell financial services to people. And so it's easier to find people who want to learn the business and then have them use their own networks to nurture people in the financial services. In the special forces, it just isn't politically correct to send the Army to solve all the problems. It's more correct to send an advisor or a teacher to solve some of those problems. So in coaching, I mean, where do you think the bottleneck is? Is it the coach, the teams, the corporate environment, or the individual?
I'm kind of thinking part of it is,
David says environment. Michael Wolf says culture, which is environment, I think, as well. And corporate world wants an answer, not a solution that requires a change.
Organizational structure and design. And Scott was saying something too, but he broke up.
I was going to say, am I breaking up?
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Oh, I was going to say, a big part of it is that learning journey from getting that knowledge to applying it. And I think the bottleneck is in the application side of it, especially with coaches not being, having enough to help mentor in an application.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's why the training model doesn't work. It's too transactional, and then the coach is there longer. And then you heard, I don't know if you guys, if I spoke this plainly enough, in my opinion, the team lead who you're leaving behind with the team, if they're not part of the change, then you've left a puzzle unsolved, which will probably undo it. Because I've seen it. Okay, so I was in a context where it was within my own company. So I was there for a much longer time than, say, a few months. And I heard from the team that they all wanted to do TDD, but the team lead didn't believe in unit testing. He believed in system testing. He was an architect. He wanted them to be big types of tests. And he literally kept his team from doing TDD for months. And I finally heard about it. I go, what? And so we had a retrospective about it. And finally we got the architect to say, okay, fine, I'll let the team do it. This is just crazy because I had no idea that was happening. Team is on board until the trainer leaves. Right. Yes, David. They can just wait for the wave of coaching or training to go by. Training's much easier. Coaching's a little longer. Yeah. But if you make them become part of the change, then it'll be a lot less likely they'll have skin in the game at that point. Okay, what else do I have left? Oh, if you want to hear more about scaled tech coaching, search for Agile Thoughts Scaled TDD Coaching, and you will hear more about the story of the big bank in San Francisco where approximately 2,000 people, I don't think it was exactly 2,000, but it was somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 people were coached in approximately a year on TDD using scaled tech coaching. What else do I have here? We're at the end. So, folks, what else is on your mind? How do we really do this?
Let's just do a little legal disclaimer. we're streaming this live on the internet, so don't break anyone's privacy policy. Don't break your NDA, right? So just, if you're going to ask questions, ask them generically. If you're going to answer questions, Lance, answer them generically, because you don't represent anyone but whom,
A
Lance?
large financial institution.
No, he represents Lance Kind, the individual, correct? And maybe
That's right.
And maybe his blog. I
Right.
represent Canton Coders and not our employers. We all represent each other tonight.
I don't represent the U.S. military.
We represent ourselves, not our corporate overlords.
Right,
So Q&A is great, but we can always turn off the streaming if that's probably safer. I'm about to do that, and we just upload the questions tomorrow. So youtube.cantoncoders.org. I'm going to turn the streaming off now, and if you want to participate, jump on the Zoom, which is in our Slack channel, or catch up tomorrow at youtube.cantoncoders.org when we sanitize this stream, just in case Scott Hammer compliments me too much. And
What's
it's
the
embarrassing.
URL for that Zoom?
The URL for that Zoom is in the Slack channel. So you join slack.cantoncoders.org, slack.cantoncoders.org.
Asking for the URL for the Slack because you had only said the YouTube.
Yep, slack.cantoncoders.org. And no, David, we haven't been sued lately. We're just super cautious because we care about happiness.
All right, cool. So we got some.
We turned off the stream. Now we can go full ham.
Yeah. Cool. So we have a safety zone here. It's assuming I'm not streaming over here, Joel, on my channel.
Well, if you are, then you probably broken some wiretap laws and stuff.
That's all right. I'm not. So have I written any books about this, David? I don't like to write nonfiction books. So if I do write a book about it, it'll be couched in a dramatic storytelling setting.
Lance, plug your other books.
Oh yeah. So I've written books about Agile called Agile Noir, about a project manager who ends up delivering a project that's funded by the mob. He doesn't know this at the time, and so he's
recording in progress.
Thanks, Sylvester. He's my pitch man. He's got a copy right there.
The recording started again.
Well, we're not streaming though.
It's this one he can sanitize. He can sanitize the recording. That's the idea.
What about your fiction books?
And then, so Agile Noir is a fiction book. It's about my name is not Carter, and I did not get shot at by the mob. But I do transform teams. That part we have something in common. But yeah, he takes you through what is the foundation of Agile. I'm currently writing one on systems thinking called Agile Grande, which is an international IT thriller but the same character, Carter, who's now working for a logistics company, and he discovers that his company's got has a dark web shipping service run by somebody in the VP level in the C-suite, and he's trying to figure out how to stop them. What else? Oh, I write science fiction. So if you go to Amazon and you type in Lancer Kind, you will find lots of things up there, novels, novelettes, etc. Yeah, so spaceships and rockets and cavemen, things like that.
Is it Lance or Lancer with an R?
It's so my given name is Lance, but I publish under Lancer. That way, if the FBI or the Chinese wanted to say, "Hey, did you write this book?" I could say, "Look at my ID, sir." No, sir. I don't know who that Lancer guy is.
I thought you were a big fan of
Clark Kent scenario. Yeah.
I thought you were a big fan.
Takes his glasses off and brushes his hair, and entirely different person.
Right.
The DNA doesn't lie.
DNA doesn't lie.
So
yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, unfortunately, I have a picture of myself in those books, which I've once used as an ID at a hotel in China once because I didn't have my ID with me. I said, "Well, look, it's me."
So some serious questions, Lance.
Yes, sir.
What's the economic investment, right? When you look at doing this from scratch, let's say you're big company, big bank company. Mm-hmm. How many people do you have to hire to do this versus other methodologies? Not that other methodologies are good, bad, or indifferent, like we have no opinion, but say I work at big bank, right? Big bank, ABC Bank, and I have 2,000 developers. It's my favorite thing. And I want them to do modern software development. So automated testing and automated pipelines to production. Nothing major. What would that look like?
All right, those two things. Let's see here. So first of all, like what if the excuse me, the scalability aspect is about approximately 10 teams to one scale technical coach. And I think you said how many people? I'm sorry, you said
2,000 developers.
2,000. All right. So if you want to do it in one shot, you need 200 scale tech coaches, which probably you can't do. You can't find that many. We'll say certainly couldn't find that many. So you're going to have to do some waves. But you could probably get, 10, maybe 20 scale technical coaches. And now you want to take a timeline about the timeline on how much a timeline would be. I don't know, man. Could be maybe a quarter if you're not getting too fancy per team. And they're going to have at the end of that quarter, they're going to have a team tech coach who knows how to do some level of TDD and have CI environment set up, which would be a big step forward for a large number of your population. If you're trying to get a perfect XP team, then you're going to need more time. So that's a variability you can decide, or the organization can decide how much they want to go, how long they want to wait.
And the next question is, what level of the organization is best to insert? So, we have developer on a team. We have a tech lead, manager, director, senior director, VP, corporate vice president, and executive vice president. What is the lowest position in the organization where implementing this methodology is practical?
Yeah, okay. Implementing meaning having a relationship to do the initiative. Is that what we're talking
Scott's
about?
a developer on a team, and he goes, "I want to do skilled tech coaching."
Right.
Versus
It's gonna be a little
James
hard.
Hester is the CIO.
Yeah, CIO is fine. I think, could you go below the C-suite? I'm not sure, but
Probably depends on the size of the company.
yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, even little companies. Yeah, right. So it's you could go by department. That might be a way. Yeah.
Are there any attributes of that leader you need to attach to that would make skilled tech coaching successful?
Well, you want them to be happy with the end product, or you want them to be unhappy with the end product because they didn't hold up, the conditions weren't set up correctly, and you want to hold them accountable to those conditions not being set up correctly, so that you can actually fix that problem and get moving forward. So you want somebody who can help. Let's put it that way: who's somebody who can affect the conditions if things aren't working well, and somebody who can make a decision, who says this: "Hey, Lance, I know you're working hard on those tech coaching initiative, but we're pretty busy this quarter, so let's take a break on that." So you want that person to think about that really seriously and understand the implications, and you want that person to be able to influence their management below them. If you can't influence the management below them, let's say you went too low, then you're going to have issues where every time if you have 8 teams working with you, maybe 3 of your teams end up dropping out because their product owners or whatever are not on board, right? So you would like that to be made easier rather than harder, and so you need an influential enough person to influence those teams.
So we pulled this off at another Detroit auto company. Very similar thing. In fact, that's how I got my start, honestly, and so it's kind of near and dear to my heart. We had to have pretty solid air cover, right, to draw the commitment for a bunch of influential developers, some of your best technical people on your teams, to be able to pull them together, twice a week for a couple of hours, to act as a cohort, to learn these things, pull all together. So we had VP and director level coverage, and they could influence the middle management that would sometimes give us problems for delivery and such, right? But I think one other thing that we did that was interesting is we didn't limit ourselves to one person or only tech leads from teams. We started with multiple people per team, like 2 or 3, and we called them influential developers, not necessarily leads, right? So there are people who would buy in for one, but that also could influence their peers. And it was fairly successful for us in our implementation, and definitely love to take this to other places.
Cool. Yeah. And then Joel, there's a longer picture on back to your question, the big organization with lots of people. And I said, maybe you could get 20 technical coaches in one big company, which is really hard. But you still don't have enough, right? So the long-term picture of scaled technical coaching is eventually team tech coaches can transform other parts of the organization after some time. And now I'm not talking about months. I'm probably talking more like a couple years, maybe 1 year, maybe it's going to be
Wait,
very
you don't need the consultants forever?
Right.
Oh, no,
That's the
James,
goal.
James, I don't want to say that out loud.
Well,
Yeah, we have to sanitize
No.
this one out. so
since
so
I mentioned
that's
music,
the long-term picture is that that if you're going to, that's why we call them team tech coaches, is because damn it, James, Joel, Michael, everyone on this call, if you are a technical coach, you probably used to be a lot less experienced technical coach. You probably were a team member. And if you were giving some nurturing and some clearing conditions to actually expand your horizons and do some of those things that you're passionate about doing earlier, maybe you would have got to the tech coaching, professional tech coaching level even faster. So this is the catalyst, back to the catalyst. We're trying to create more of people like us when we were really, quite young, and nurture them into getting to that capability faster.
But what am I going to do? Well, that's why I'm not a technical coach
So-
anymore. I built things for a living. I do the code thing again. Hey, Michael.
And
Hey,
so
there's an infinite number of screwed up companies in the world. Don't worry about it. There's always work.
It's just more fun to build things. What were you saying, Michael?
So Lance, you kind of backed into something that I was going to say anyway,
I'm
but
sorry.
it was great because Paul put it in the code anyway. I knew a guy. I was going to.
You broke up, Michael.
Oh no, Michael. We
Yeah,
had
I
bad
lost
timing
Michael
with
was
technology.
complimenting you. Our filter cut him off.
The turkey got him.
I had an
Go
incoming
ahead and repeat
spam
yourself,
call.
Michael.
Okay. You knew a guy. That's what we know.
Are you back? Am I
You're
back
back.
again?
You are.
I had a spam call come in. Check my bandwidth. I know a guy who worked at a big company when I was in Seattle, and he talked about calling it, like you said, you can't scale it. You can't get enough technical coaches. You can't even get enough whatever coaches to coach, to do the coach or train the trainer kind of thing. It wouldn't scale to this company. So he said the best he could do was change the culture, that changed the culture, that changed the software development. And he mentioned things like learning. 75, the learning, or maybe 85, the learning culture, the fifth discipline or something like that.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
going
yeah.
back.
Right.
That's going back longer than a career, right? I mean, that's more than a career old, but it's still a thing. So he's changing that kind of thing. To Scott's point, it's okay to not deliver, but I'm adding value by learning. I saw a cool graphic the other day. It's like, you're used to seeing the J curve that goes like this. Don't do the J curve like that. Say, well, the normal J curve is just we're going to deliver less, but you know what else? We're learning more on top of that. So it's not like we're slacking off. We're just changing our focus from
Yeah.
product.
You
to
keep on
learning.
going robotic.
Like evil
Turn off your
robot.
hard-on collider. Turn off your
Let me
particle
just
collider.
close it.
Not
Can you
not
hear
typical
enough to-
robot. It's
You're
evil
we're back to
robot.
normal, Michael.
Yeah.
So let me just close it with so that's a lot of blah, blah, blah. His point was it was kind of a culture thing. You kind of
Yeah.
led in with a technical thing. Could you blend the two together?
Oh, the culture and the technical thing. I guess, I don't know, Sylvester, isn't that what we did with the, oh, shoot. Okay, Sylvester didn't experience the coaching the coaches in coaching class. So my opinion, I was hoping Sylvester could back me up on this, but I don't think he experienced this. When we started teaching people soft skills for technical coaching, that was the blending of some of the culture. Is that going to change the company culture? No, but we were going to change the culture of the group that we were talking with, and fingers crossed that some of that would bleed over and touch the teams. So my opinion is if you really want to go after more of the culture, is you have to do the same type of coaching, how to be a coach and how to act like a coach, how to show up as a coach to the management. And then you might have a chance at changing company culture, at least much faster than just hope and wish.
Hope is not a strategy.
Hey,
Yeah.
I said that. Hope is not a strategy. What's the plan to make the plan? What other questions are out there? Sylvester, you've been awfully silent tonight. Maybe you have a baby sleeping, and that's totally okay.
No, I just don't have any questions because I'm pretty familiar with this model.
I don't know anything about this model. I haven't helped Lance at all ever with any of it.
All the bad stuff, Sylvester, that you complained about, that was Joel's fault, by the way, just in case.
So Sylvester, when Lance and I worked together, I would get him in a Socratic empathetic loop, and he wouldn't detect it. But it's one of the things working with Lance you should do is just look at him when he gets going. Go, why do you think that is? What do you think the next steps are? About 10 minutes later on, he'll realize you're doing it to him. But he's a pretty good talker. So we get some questions out there from Fang and Mary. And Fang and Mary, we're not going to probably upload any of this Q&A stuff off onto, I'm going to actually just quit recording right now.